Welcome to the 2024 Woodstock Academy Human Rights Conference. My name is Owen Rigby.
And I'm Cami McNally. In this video, we will be uncovering why human rights issues are so important and how we can, as students, tackle these issues and work towards a more inclusive and equitable world for everyone.
This semester, we're both taking Introduction to Genocide Studies, taught by Ms. Diedzig, in order to further our learning of how inequality exists around the world.
As our society becomes increasingly interconnected, it is important to stay educated on current events, humanitarian crises, and of course, human rights.
But what common knowledge do people possess about human rights? Mr. Sanford, what do you consider to be a human right?
Everyone's definition of that is going to be completely different. For mine, it's really things that are close to us. So a few examples would be housing, or sustainable housing, I think is a human right. I also think health insurance or healthy living support is a human right. Those are the two big ones that really impact on a smaller scale. There are ones that are much larger, like food insecurity and environmental changes that are happening. But on a smaller scale, it really impacts individuals on this campus and in our community every day. I would say issues of housing and healthcare.
Well, there are a lot of basic human rights, and when I think about the best, list or most comprehensive one, I like to think of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that both the UN and Amnesty use. These particular human rights include a lot of things, freedom, right to life, et cetera, et cetera. But when I think about how they might translate down to like high school life, I think out of those 30, innocent until proven guilty, right? There's some rights around that for students. Rights to education, that's obviously the most basic one that applies to my position. Decent standard of living encompasses a lot of things, and we often, as educators, are concerned about the standard of living of families and what access kids need to have. And then also, probably most popular among teenagers, a freedom of your own thoughts, opinions, and religions. As a human being, you have a right to those.
What human right violation are you aware of today?
There's numerous. The one that comes to mind immediately is the treatment of women in Afghanistan, because for many years I taught the book 1,000 Splendid Suns. And obviously the Taliban kind of reasserting control in Afghanistan really undid some steps that women made in positive directions in terms of safety and access to education. And it's just gotten a lot of coverage recently because I think the leader of the Taliban, the current leader of the Taliban, just recently declared that, for example, public stonings are going to be allowed again for adultery or other, behaviors that are deemed, immoral under the Taliban codes. And so I think that comes to mind right away for me.
A human right violation I'm aware of today is the inability for many American citizens to gain access to affordable health care.
I would say the children working in mines in Africa or Asia. They're really young, and I feel like it's just unfair from them to work there and for actually anyone, because they work in poor conditions, and that should stop.
I'm aware of a couple, but one that stands out would be discrimination. And I think it's defined as the unjust treatment against someone based on their ethnicity.
What human rights issues are you aware of in the area of Northeast Connecticut?
I know it's one that I've heard a lot about recently, but human trafficking, major human rights violation, I know it's going on. It's actually something when we do teacher training, it's something we're actually trained to be aware of. We actually have to do a module or two on that. I'm not personally aware of it. All I know is that it is an area of increased concern, and I know that there's a lot more emphasis on it recently in law enforcement, and just teachers to be aware of it.
In this area, we have workshops that cover this today, and you guys will get to see it. But really, there's so many. There's food insecurity, there's homelessness. Even if you go over to like Putnam, there's people that have no food, no home, no job, nothing. As well as there's human trafficking around here, which is unexpected, and really just everything that you can think of can be found in Connecticut.
How can students be the change that is needed to address human rights issues today?
What I always applaud our students at the Academy and our faculty and staff who push it is the concept of having the conversation. I think the first step is actually recognizing what those are. It amazes me, and what makes me one of the things that makes me the most proud is knowing that a bunch of our students are going out in the world and being those change agents, whether it be on a massive global scale or even in their local area. Having the privilege of talking to a lot of alumni who graduated from the Academy, who then go off and do certain things and become lawyers, but their really expertise is, on visas or an issue of environmental causes. We have so many individuals who graduate from the Academy who go on to make those changes, and that's what makes me the most proud of our program. And I think it's important that we have those conversations and get it in your mind as a young adult of what the significance is.
I think the first thing we need to do is educate kids like these days on human rights issues, because a lot of people are unaware of history of human rights violations and current ones, so I think education is the most important thing we can do.
I feel like school is a good place to actually talk about that. It's a gathering of multiple people from different perspective and environment, so we should just talk about it, organize some events, and make it clear that human rights are something that we should be aware of.
Why does this information matter? Why should everyone care about human rights?
Human rights are affecting us all, starting at a local community level, moving to countrywide issues, to even global problems.
Topics such as gender-based discrimination, gay rights, or racial inequality are all issues concerning human rights.
But how can we find solutions to these issues? How can we provide a better future?
We can make positive change by learning more about human rights, raising awareness on important topics, and supporting organizations that take action to better our world.
We can continue providing fundraising for humanitarian aid, participating in peaceful protests of injustice, and of course, discussing these sensitive topics with our peers. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy this conference.